Hello, Gregory.
Oh, hey, buddy. How are you? How do I sound? Sound good?
You sound good.
Yeah, I'm here in LA. I'm in the hotel. I'm downstairs. Nice
Yeah,
day. Beautiful day. Doing a lot of traveling. Yeah. Uh,
nice.
well, hey, I'm
Weather's good.
Gregory. Yeah. Well, let me introduce myself. Let's start over. Okay. Hi, I'm Gregory,
Hi, I'm Paul.
and we do the Gregory and Paul Show, a live stream every
That's right.
Friday where we talk about what's happening in tech, AI, SaaS, and whatever people happen to be talking about on the internet. I thought today we would just reintroduce ourselves quickly for
Love it.
people who are new and maybe have just tuned in. So I spent 20 years in Silicon Valley, was the head of marketing for three pretty successful startups. I worked at a bunch of other ones. Some were just abysmal failures that I've completely forgotten about. I sometimes run into people who I worked with them and I can't even remember, but that's how it goes in the startup space.
It's
And then,
perfect.
Paul, why don't you tell people about
Yeah,
your background?
yeah. I spent 15 years building software. Starting out as a software engineer, then moved into startups, some of my own, as a software slash CTO. About a year and a half ago, I made the pivoting to marketing, and now I'm a vibe marketer like yourself, predominantly on Reddit.
I love it, dude. I think it's great. You're like you're. I think that's one reason we get along. You're one of the very few people I know who has
Yeah,
like kind of a way more technical bend than I do, but actually just like made the choice to be like, hey, I'd rather do marketing, which is
right.
an unusual choice, but I think, and I think you have found too that like with all these new tools, a whole new approach, like I would call it vibe marketing. It's a whole new world out there, and it's fantastic. There's just so many doors that have been unlocked, and everything is changing because of these tools, and it's an
Yeah.
exciting space to be in right now.
It's so exciting. There's so many different things that's appearing. There's stuff called go to market engineering, go to market, which is gluing all of these text AI tools together. Vibe marketing is also a thing. It's such a fun space to
It's
be in.
interesting, like I always get people are asking like define vibe marketing. I think there's like a cohort or group of people who I think it's synonymous with automation. But
Right.
I personally take a different approach. I would say it's a response to AI and automation. So I think that AI
Yeah.
and automation has just it's changing marketing and changing business pretty significantly.
Right.
And I think a lot of things that were a competitive advantage in the past are no longer a competitive advantage. And I think vibe marketing is about taking advantage of all of these new things. And I think content, I think the approach, and I think your vibe actually matters perhaps more than
Yes.
it ever has because you can just automate so much and you can do so many things now that to differentiate, you need to be interesting, you need to be different, you need to really
Yes.
break through and need to have a lot of vibes. That's what I think.
I totally. You're no longer kind of stopped by ability for you to curate information, right? Like there's so much information out there, but the AI can now do it all for you. Put it into a nice spreadsheet, hook that up to some workflow. You can send 1,000 emails a day if you want.
Yeah, right. So like the it's basically like executing the tasks, doing the things.
Right.
Like there's no advantage anymore if you're good at doing the things. It's
Correct.
how you do the things. What are the things that you say? Like, what is your brand? What is your vibe? What is your message? What is your approach? Like, how you connect with people? Because everyone, like you're saying, can do it. Like anybody can like scrape a list now, automate an agent, send out 1,000 emails a day. Anyone can do it basically for free.
Right.
You need $20 a month
Yeah.
chat GPT subscription, access to some free Gmails and a couple of tricks up your sleeve, and boom, there you go, right? Like you're doing it. And so, like, what do you say? What are you offering? Like, how are you approaching it? Like, how are you different from people? That's the part that
Exactly.
it's the only way you can differentiate now.
Yeah. And people are finding your product or service like everywhere and anywhere now, right? Like the shopping, the journey to the cart is not linear anymore. It's not seeing an ad. they click on the ad and then they convert or not convert. It's now like doing a bunch of research. It could be like seeing your name mentioned in a newsletter, or Google searching themselves, seeing a post on Reddit, seeing a TikTok. That's adjacently talking about your brand. So you need to be everywhere, I think.
All right, what do we got on the schedule for today? Okay,
Yeah.
3 really interesting topics. So first, we'll do Elon, his beef with
His beef with
Mr.
Sam.
I would say ongoing beef with Sam Altman. It's
Yeah.
nothing new. They have a new saga or a new one to be beefing about, but it's been going on for a while. We'll talk about Perplexity's ridiculously hilarious offer to buy Chrome. I love it. And then we'll talk about AI CapEx spending and how it appears to be holding up the entire, not just U.S. economy, but maybe the world economy.
The world economy. I know you have lots of thoughts on that.
Kick us off with the Elon stuff. Do you want to share any tweets or anything?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so
Awesome.
this whole thing came out of a little bit of like a beef between Elon and taking on Apple. So
It's
he
not a
wasn't
little
happy.
beef. It's a big giant beef.
That's right. So Apple signed a deal with OpenAI to leverage their tech ChatGPT across all of their iPhone devices. Elon also was not happy that Apple is prioritizing ChatGPT, before Grok in the App Store. So Elon wrote this tweet a few days ago accusing Apple uh, of behaving in a manner making it impossible for any other AI companies besides OpenAI to reach the number one spot in the App Store, and accusing them of antitrust violations. Sam shot back and say, "Wow, what a remarkable claim!" Where Elon obviously manipulates X to benefit himself and his own companies and his own agenda, right? So both of them kind of shot back at each other. Elon says, "Hey, your post got 3 million views based on calling directly using languages like you liar, far from more than I ever received on his." Sam snaps back with a skill issue tweet. Just
Funny.
amazing. Where can you get this outside of
I'll tell
Twitter?
you. Where you can get it. Fifth grade. Fifth grade Instagram comments is where you get this kind of stuff.
That's right.
That's what I think. Although I find it highly entertaining. I don't know. Who do you think's right in this debate here?
I don't think anyone's right. Like, absolutely no one is right. They shouldn't be arguing like this as adults.
I'll tell you who's right. Sam is right. Elon is wah, 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 wah. And like, Sam is absolutely correct that like Elon is putting his thumb on the scales of all of the content all over X all the time.
Right.
There's absolutely he doesn't even advocate for the idea that the content would be shared on X is like somehow fairly weighted, that like it's some kind of marketplace of ideas. Like
Right.
absolutely is not the way X works. And so the idea that like somehow the App Store needs to be fair is just a preposterous thing for Elon to insist based on how he operates. I think Sam is totally correct in this one.
Maybe you're right. I think that's. I don't think anyone will say that X is fair, right? Like, of course, Elon used it as a platform to get.
The funniest part is like I'm not biased. Like I personally love Elon. I think everything he's doing is really cool. I'm huge on it. What is that gun thing? Oh no, that's the memes. And like I'm not actually as big a fan of Sam and the way he operates, but I think Sam is dead right. Like who are you to like criticize like the fairness of how content is being surfaced on any platform?
Yeah,
Elon.
yeah.
I think that's totally legit.
It is totally legit for Sam to call him out on this. I think Elon is a crybaby in this. We'll see where it goes.
Hey, do you think this means that Elon is really worried? Like he's like perhaps losing? That's what I think.
He is. He's very worried. So
Yeah,
he hired Ikeda Beer as
right.
the head of product.
Oh my God, I
And
love that.
I think a few days ago he tweeted he's now putting together the best Android dream team ever.
Oh, I
So
didn't see
essentially,
this. Android Dream Team.
correct. So he's like one of those originator where he originally said, "Oh, if you use Android, it's like a check repellent. You should not use Android. Android's like the lamest thing ever."
That's
Um,
true.
and now, like he goes 180, and now he's assembling the dream team of Android Dream Team, to build the next amazing X Android app. So of course, like you don't make these kind of massive pivots without being worried a little bit.
I didn't pick this up. Do you, I like I want to like Elon and I want to like Twitter. And I guess I would follow that. I do like Nikita, but like I don't know if I like their strategy. And so like I was looking on the X app the other day, like did the whole messaging thing get rolled back? Remember they rolled out this like whole new thing,
Yeah, the chat thing.
X chat. I was like, this sounds awesome. I can't wait for it. And then it just was like a version of iOS chat built in the X app, only on the phone, didn't work on the PC. And then you had they could it was not backwards compatible. It's gone, right? Is it even did they roll it all back?
I think I still have it on my phone.
Just like the product strategy here is just it's just like it's just silly.
Yeah, they don't have. Yeah, correct. They haven't released anything groundbreaking in a while, and I just don't think they have the ability to retain top talent,
I
or
wonder
they're
why.
attracting the wrong talent.
But yeah. All right. We can't spend this whole time criticizing X,
X.
even though it would be a fun show. We have lots of AI news to get into. So what do you have next? All right, Perplexity.
Yeah, this one was just, I don't even understand why they would come
Yeah,
here
you
and
were
do this.
against this. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, so like the backstory is that obviously Google is going through a bunch of antitrust issues. One of the rumors, or one of the thing is the Justice Department wants them to break up Google Chrome away from all of their other, advertising business. Makes sense, right? In antitrust suit. So there that invites a lot of bidders, and one of the bidder is Perplexity. I honestly think this is just Perplexity's grasping at straws. I think they launched Perplexity Comet as a competitor.
Yeah.
Uh,
Is that public? Have you tried it?
so I saw some people really like it. I don't. I honestly don't even use Perplexity too much. I think
Yeah, I don't
between
use it either.
Grok, Claude covers pretty much all of my AI needs. Um, yeah, I just don't see this as the future. Um, we've talked about MCPs before. I just think
Yeah.
AI automated browser is transient tech. This is a hill that I'm going to die on. I think like plugging AI directly into browser is just complete waste of time.
Oh, yeah. Your take is that let me see if I can refinish. You're saying that
Yeah,
like this AI browser thing, that's just some like stop on the road to the
yeah,
like
yeah,
ultimate end game, which is like AI agents, and it's basically all automated. And you maybe have an app
yeah.
somewhere on your phone, and you just kind of tell it to do things, and you don't really need to spend a lot of time in a browser.
Correct. Yeah. This is like, if AI succeeds, or if AI truly gets widely adopted, the browser makes no sense, right? Like all web application and browser is doing is just wrapping a user interface around data.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
AI has direct access to data, we don't need to be sitting around a computer clicking buttons. Makes no sense.
it's a good point. Well, okay, so my take on the perplexity thing, I think it's hilarious. I think it's excellent marketing. I like that they do these kind of bold, ridiculous things. Like they don't have the money to buy it. I guess maybe they could get it. It's possible, but I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, 420
And
funding secured.
yeah, I think it's funny. I mean, who's gonna buy it? Like Oracle? Like who has the money to do this? Microsoft? Like so then the whole monopoly just goes back to Microsoft. Like it's kind of laughable, I think.
No, I don't
Um,
think anyone that actually has an AI strategy is looking at this.
who do you think's gonna buy it then? Because it's not Perplexity. We know neither of us think like Perplexity's not gonna buy it, right?
Yeah, no, I don't
Yeah.
think so.
But who else has the money then?
Amazon. I mean,
Yeah, I guess that would make
this
sense.
is kind of the play, right? Like the way that this article is framing is Bezos backed Perplexity makes a bid for Chrome.
Oh, and that Bezos would give Perplexity the money to do it.
Yeah, because they're already backing.
Which is basically it almost is like an exit for Perplexity if that happens. It's basically what happens. It's like a whole bunch of new money come in from a new investor, and Perplexity has to be rolled into whatever this new thing is to
correct. Well, like it could for Amazon, it makes sense, right? Like all of this browsing data, you integrate Amazon search directly inside.
He's the only person I could come up with who can afford it, and like so Microsoft can't buy it, antitrust, even though they have the money.
Right.
Ellison, like, and Oracle conceivably could, and he's the kind of guy that would come out of nowhere and just like,
correct, yeah.
He's the kind of guy who'd wake up and be like, you know what? I really feel like I need to buy Chrome today, and he would just do it. Like he's got the money, doesn't need to talk to anybody. He just calls, hey, buddy, let's just make this happen, and then boom.
Right.
It's the only guy I can come up with. I guess like Facebook could buy it. They can afford it, right? Like Zuckerberg could like finance it. He can make it happen.
Yeah, but I don't think it plays into their.
No, I agree with that.
Right, like their business.
What if Apple bought it?
Apple has Safari,
but they still could like own Chrome, right?
But then not getting to the antitrust again, I think.
Do you think so? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's interesting.
They will own search, right? Because they pay like Google a lot of money to make up. Google pays Apple a lot of money
for the search. Yeah, right.
So if they own Chrome again, then.
All right, so that's on the browser side. But on your second point about, is this just like transitory technology? So the other angle would be that like, look, there's a lot of websites out there, and there's a lot of like legacy users. So if we get adoption of MCP servers and agents, which isn't a sure thing, it might not happen for anybody, and it might not happen for consumers for a long time.
Right.
But there's another like 10 to 15 years of like web-based interface interactions over HTML that are going to happen, and it's a really big market. So perhaps it's a legacy business, but I don't think it's going to transition to MCP servers and agents very quickly.
Yeah. So this is my take is that maybe not in North America. Rest of the world are predominantly on the phone, use apps already. So the transition from apps to MCP servers is not that big of a leap. If you think of like how China operates, majority of people uses app called WeChat to do pretty much everything.
Yeah, so Weibo and all that. Yeah.
Right. So like you can pay your taxes instead of WeChat. It's loaded as a micro app. All of these services are already integrated with the chat application. So the step from micro applications to like AI agent MCP servers is not that a giant leap. So that's majority of the world, let's say.
That's true.
So in terms of like America and like the Western hemisphere, I think we're just behind. Even in Europe, I think they use a lot of these chat applications. I know WhatsApp is super popular in Latin America. A lot of people pay their phone bills through WhatsApp. So
yeah, I mean, I hear you. Like the web browser too, like as a mechanism, I would even go as far as say something like it's actually not the predominant way most people use the internet.
Yeah,
the web browser is only one aspect of it. Like everyone uses their phone and they go in there and they use text and they share photos. They do instant messaging. They go on Facebook. Like regular people don't use a browser very much at all, and I think haven't for a long time. The only use
I
case is like you
100%
click
agree.
on a link and it goes to like a blog or a news site somewhere, and even that's like going away.
Exactly. Yeah. I think majority of people just uses one or two SaaS applications, right?
Yeah,
For
they
work,
go
let's say you
directly in.
use LinkedIn.
Yeah, and Slack, right? Like there's just so many
Yeah,
other alternatives. No, that
exactly.
part's not. Yeah, I agree with I agree with that. I don't think the transition to AI agents happen fast.
We don't know. I think if you can show people you can get a 10x experience, I honestly do believe it. I think this is one of those use cases for AI that's going to get adopted much faster than everything else.
We'll
Because like
see. I
if
don't
you can
know.
literally show me something that I don't ever have to like open a web browser again, I will switch. I will use it.
I mean, AI agents right now are like in their infancy, and then like the consumers or regular people are not using them. So it's just gonna take a long time. That's what I think.
I Well, like they don't even have to know that it's AI agent, right? So, for example, your
Okay.
the way that you buy like SaaS services, right? It makes zero difference between you just um, going onto their MCP or you're just like typing into, hey, I want to convert a PDF file. Sorry, I want to convert a website into a PDF file. Right now,
Okay.
you have to go out manually acquire the service, put in your credit card, right? Integrate it into your service or like upload a file. All of that could be now done using Claude directly inside of Claude. So now what that means is like your interface will be directly with the Claude app instead of going on to like a web page or a SaaS application.
Yeah. This is a broader. I mean, this gets rather abstract, I think, but it's an interesting point. So like, and I've written a lot about this.
Yeah,
I do agree that like, well, agree. I think it's even more dramatic, like long term. I think apps go away.
yeah,
Like they get integrated into AI. So the way you describe, so you're describing a world where you open up an AI agent or you open up an AI chat assistant. Let's call it that.
yeah.
So it's a chat GPT. It could be a Perplexity. It could be a DeepSeek. It could be a Claude. It could be all these things, right? And then all these like services are embedded into it.
Correct.
And so you
Yeah,
just kind of, and you don't even perhaps need to even know what they're called. You just say like, make this website into a PDF for me, and boom, it just does it.
exactly. Yeah.
And so maybe it calls us, like maybe it calls a server, maybe it doesn't. Like it's all opaque. Like you don't really know what's
It's all
happening on the
opaque.
back.
Exactly. Right. Like the biggest struggle from building SaaS tools that I've experienced is just teaching people another tool to use.
Mhm.
Right? Like that's the biggest problem with building any kind of software these days. And people are tired. They're like, "Oh my god, I have to use another tool." So
Yeah,
like
this is an interesting point. I'm sorry.
that's it. It's like if you can tell buyers that hey, you don't need to learn another tool. I think that's huge.
I think there's barriers to this. So I've actually thought a lot about this. Like, I do agree that like some formats will emerge or is emerging. Like
Mhm.
the app's just built into a chat interface. You kind of tell the chat what to do. The agents kind of do things, but like certain things won't work that way. There's still going to be like branded services and commodities that people want to pick through and select. Like the shopping experience does matter for some things, and like
100%. Okay.
it's hard to
Yeah.
so I don't know where this new world goes exactly. I even think that like things that sound completely ridiculous right now might emerge that like maybe the shopping apps have are the brand. Like I think that people like brands because I think brands are like a useful shortcut to kind of get what you want. And if you just go on an MCP server and you
Right.
just tell it
Okay.
to do something and it just randomly does things and you're like, this is not what I want. Like how many times you type in a chat
Yeah.
GPT It doesn't
Yeah.
really do what you want. It does
Yeah.
it, but it's not what you want.
Yeah.
So the idea that there's some kind of branded, maybe I'm putting my marketer hat on here, some kind of branded universe of MCP apps, I actually think is quite conceivable. But I think the whole
Yeah.
nature of brands just transforms, and like it influences the behavior of the MCP server
Yeah.
selection. Like it knows your preferences, but like a lot of times too, like people don't know what they like. They will, so that's why they like things like tastemakers, and everyone makes fun of thought leaders. But there's a reason those things exist, because like they help people make decisions in a world that's really complicated, and there's lots of choice.
Yeah.
And so trying to find ways to narrow
100%.
choice. Yeah, so I see a whole future where branded MCP servers become the way you make these choices. And like, I actually don't even fully understand like what the brands will be. I think like a new type of brand,
Yeah.
like a decision-making brand. Like, I guess it's kind of like how, at least when I think of like very high-end European luxury brands, some of them really went in the direction of being like they're like a lifestyle. Like
They're a
I
lot.
embrace the Louis Vuitton lifestyle. I've got a Louis. I've seen like these ridiculous Louis Vuitton bicycle and
Yeah.
Louis Vuitton sneakers and shoes. Like, so I kind of see like brands perhaps going in that direction where it's a preference or a way I like to do things, and it finds those types of services for me.
Okay, so you're
I know it's really
onto
abstract.
something.
It's hard to understand, right? But like, I believe this world is going to happen.
No, I don't think it's abstract at all, because if you just break down exactly what you're talking about, it directly translates into the MCP world. So branding is really a trust mechanism, right? Like you
Correct.
buy a brand because you trust it, and inherently this brand will guarantee you a level of quality that you're used to.
Yes.
With MCP, the biggest problem right now is exactly like you said. There's no brand. You can't guarantee a level of trust. So everything essentially will become productized, as in, maybe, this is actually pretty simple. Is you pay when the goods is delivered,
Mhm.
and we can then create a whole bunch of mechanisms around checking the quality of the delivered goods. So like you can do all of that.
Yeah.
So now really the thing that you have to make decision on is, I mean, look, you can even like hire a MCP AI agent that determines the quality for you.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Right?
I believe 100% that like this. So I don't know how fast it'll come. I don't know if I think that
Correct.
HTML has gone away, but I do believe a future will emerge where there's these MCP server apps that are automated.
Yeah.
They do things for you. They're branded, and they're all new brands, and they're based
Yeah.
on the process, the way they do things. Like even your description of like, make this website into a PDF for me. Like I want one that I trust to do it the way that I like it done.
Exactly. 100%. I think it's definitely not going to remove the human factor, but definitely also not going to be as completely arbitrary. Let's say, like, why do you
Yeah.
like the difference between two luxury brands that sells handbags? I don't know.
All right, we've talked enough about this.
Cool.
Let's
Can I
this
show
is a good
off
one, but what's up?
like a MCP demo?
Of course.
So like this company called Brutely, they are a dev tool. They built a MCP server to essentially help developers handle incidents. So like
Okay.
this is inside of Cursor,
Uh-huh.
a
So
developer
this is
tool.
okay. Yeah.
This Cursor is set up to their MCP server. The MCP server essentially can fetch incidents, right? So what's happening there is you're directly interfacing with uh, their MCP server, pulling the latest incident. Now using that incident, asking the AI agent to implement a fix.
Yeah, I think that I think a better term will emerge. So if you go to Claude now, it's got there's more integrations than in the previous had only a couple. Now there's like everything integrated, and Claude calls them connectors.
Yeah.
Those are technically MCP servers.
Yeah,
So
correct.
yeah, I think some cool term will emerge, because like I kept thinking they're like power ups, like in video games. Like I've got my little cursor unit, I've
Correct.
got my like ChatGPT unit, I've got my like Claude interface, whatever it is, right? And then there's certain like limitations or things that are hard to do with like, let's call it base AI. And so I need power ups to do like other cool stuff. And that's what all these MCP servers are. They're just like
They're
things that
little
power
power
up.
ups.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They're not
Exactly.
quite apps in the same way like the app metaphor on the iOS mobile phone was very, very clear and branded a certain way. They're different than that because like they're more they're wider reaching in terms of how they impact what you're doing, and they can be integrated into things in a way that like apps were basically self-contained. That's probably the right way to describe it. MCP servers, these cool power-ups, they're not self-contained. Like you can like intertwine them and link them together and make them interact with each other in a way that apps couldn't, which is like I think super interesting and a
Correct. Correct.
big difference that no one's talking about this stuff because like it's so early. Basically, everyone's comparing them to APIs. But
Yeah.
APIs are in the same way I was describing are static. You kind of ping it, it does this service, it provides done. MCP servers, they have an ongoing nature of the like service, and they can interact with other ones on their own, which are things that like APIs cannot do at all. It's
Yeah. API
fascinating.
is more rigid, right? Like it's still just a simple way for humans to consume.
Yeah, and they're
Well, like,
singular, right? You ping the API and it pings back, and that's kind of it.
yeah. Yeah. MCP, I mean, like MCP just sits on top of APIs, let's say, right?
Mhm.
So at the end of the day, the developer doesn't have to change anything. You just have to put
Correct.
an MCP server in front of your API. So instead of like exposing your API for human consumption, you expose the MCP server. It's just a more natural way that we should be.
100%. Right. So that I spent all weekend like Coinbase hackathon talking about MCP servers. So like the
Nice.
first generation of these is going to be everyone's going to build a MCP wrapper on their API
Correct. Correct.
is what's going to happen the first generation.
That's
And
the
that's why in the
easiest way.
beginning,
Yeah.
everyone will just compare them to APIs. But then eventually
Exactly.
it'll merge. The MCPs have a lot more features and functionality than APIs, and they'll do a whole bunch of different things.
Correct. Correct. Correct.
All
Yeah.
right, we got that one
Yeah.
got real nerdy. I don't know if anyone's following along, but that's okay.
That's fine.
All right, let's move on to AI CapEx spending. This one
Yeah.
will be fun.
We talked about this last night. You want to explain what we're talking about here again?
Oh, did you bring up my Balaji thing? Yeah. So like Balaji tweeted this thing. So we got to set the context here. Let's go to the other tweet. Yeah. So this one, right? So this is like, yeah, okay. So the correct way to frame this is that all the economic data came out in terms of like GDP, and this chart is AX CapEx spending versus consumer spending, right? So the line that looks like it's crashing is consumer spending, and the line that's going up, the dark one, is AI CapEx spending. So consumer spending is usually what powers most of like the U.S. economy. I believe this is the United States only, and typically most of the world. And that's like 80% of what powers GDP. There's always a business component to it. But this is the first time that like the AI CapEx spending specifically has exceeded the consumer piece. And the AI CapEx spending is like all the chips and money that people are spending with basically NVIDIA, right? But all the data center built out, so there's lots of it involved in that besides just chips.
Right.
But like Google, Microsoft, Facebook, they're all spending Oracle, all spending all this money, and like it exceeded consumer spending, right? So like a lot of people are looking at this saying like, does it look healthy? The entire economy right now appears to be propped up by AI CapEx
Mm-hmm.
spending,
Yeah.
which is concerning. What do you have a take on that one?
I think this is. I think America's moving towards late stage capitalism. I don't. So I mean, like, is it bad? Why is it bad when? So our understanding of how GDP grows is completely through consumption, right? Like people has to spend money on goods and consume things.
Right.
but that's not really the way that a lot of the other parts of the world thinks about GDP growth. Definitely not China, right? Like China's GDP is mostly about producing things. Government spending is a huge part of it.
Mhm.
For better or worse, um, consumer spending has always been trailing government spending. Chinese people love to save. So I think this is just America's way of, I want to say, mimic the way that China has been for the last 10 years, 15 years. And
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad thing because America needs that kind of infrastructural capex.
Interesting. So I agree with you that the capex spending is good, and like it does mirror some of the Chinese, let's call it, approach, in the sense that
Sure.
China's been building all kinds of stuff. I think
Yeah.
there's different reasons why China's building things relative to the United States. That they went from like an agrarian, let's call it, maybe perhaps backward socialist setup
Yeah.
under to a more modern 21st century infrastructure in
It's
a
a transition. Yeah.
really short period of time. So they had to build a lot of stuff. So I think like that's why like construction, um, building all this stuff just ate up so much GDP because they were building so much in such a short period of time. Or the United States perhaps had like we'd built roads and like power plants, all this stuff had happened a lot
Earlier.
much longer. Yeah,
Yeah.
earlier, right? So I agree with you that in the sense that like building these type of things is good. Infrastructure in general is good too because like it generally powers the economy. That you build a road, you build a power plant, you build AI chips, and like you can build other services on top, and you can build business on top. It's really really good for
Correct.
business. So I agree
Correct.
with all of that. I think the consumer spending piece is really that all of the COVID stimulus has been spent. I think it took a long time for
Mm.
that stuff to work its way through the like US economy. And it was like artificially propping up a lot of consumption.
Yeah.
And people were traveling, they were like buying things, they were eating out, and all of that stuff has come to a halt because a lot of the money printing and other stimulus has run out. And like we haven't really done any stimulus. In fact, like Doge and Trump and the things that they're doing economically are what's the term? They're constricting
Stimulating.
they're constricting
Oh, yeah.
spending, right? They're
Right.
not increasing spending. They're constricting it, right? So they're reducing it. And so that has implications, right? And I think that like that's what that line actually means is that all that stuff has burned off. I also think like your statement about like what they did in China and like infrastructure spending, that like putting all that money to work in terms of like printing
Yeah.
money, doing stimulus, and then giving it to consumers to spend. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't think it was very productive. I think it's what caused inflation.
Mm. Right.
That you print more money, and the money becomes worth less that is in existence, and then people just spend it on services. You don't really build any infrastructure or you put anything in place to like grow the economy. So it's generally like not a very productive way to
Yeah.
to use money.
I,
So
I,
that's yeah, sorry.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it's so the biggest problem with inflation and post COVID is how do we curb back of all the spendings that we've done? So we have to put in austerity measures to cut spending. But then the danger of that is if you cut spending, your GDP stalls and recession happens. So
So that's what everyone's worried about.
that's what
Exactly.
everybody's worried about.
Yeah.
And the thing that you could potentially save you from that is by spending elsewhere that doesn't contribute towards inflation. So like this is where AI CapEx comes in, right? It's the most productive spending, or at least it's what people believe is the most kind of productive spending we can do.
Correct. I agree with that. Yeah, I think the infrastructure spending is really healthy here. It's also private or public private. Like there's a mix of public
Public
private, but
private,
it's
right?
basically private spending, right? Which I think is really good.
Yeah,
And who knows if like we're overbuilding it.
yeah,
There's a lot of people who think that it's possible, but if you look back from my perspective, like .com where you had like the dark fiber stuff was laid. It
Yeah.
eventually got used. Uh, the housing boom, all the houses got used like 2008, 2010. Like we have a housing shortage still in a lot of places. They overbuilt perhaps Southwest. I'm not sure they overbuilt. I just think they like there's just expectation in terms of price and construction costs that are mismatched. But I don't think we overbuilt. I think we actually underbuilt homes still. So the capacity gets used up. So I think the same thing will happen with AI, that like we'll
Right.
build all this stuff and now we'll
It's
use it.
very
And I already, yeah, go ahead.
it's very interesting, right? I think so. This public plus private spending is we're moving towards socialist territories a little bit, just a little bit. Um, the danger here is, will the quality suffer? Right? Will money get improperly allocated? Instead of hiring the best companies to do this, we hire second tier people who have no business building these AI infrastructures, building them. That's kind of like the dangerous part. If America can avoid that, I think this is absolutely could be great for America in the long run.
It's interesting you said about like a more social approach. So I was thinking about that this morning.
Yeah,
And what I actually thought was like really important to define these things. I think that's something that gets missed in all these conversations. And like the simplest way I like to, like, let's say, define socialism and capitalism is a free market versus a centralized market. And I don't think this actually gets spoken about a lot, but the definitions are actually quite simple and easy to understand. So in
yeah,
the US, we have a free market. So literally, like, money gets created through the Federal Reserve or like banks. Like we have these systems in place, and it
yeah,
gets distributed to companies, and companies like they build whatever they want, and they kind of satisfy the market, right? Try to invent a product, and people buy it. Or you want to build a hamburger stand somewhere, and like maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, right? Like supply and demand
yeah,
is just something that like entrepreneurs and inventors or people are able to take advantage of, and either they can create it or they can't. But
yeah.
in a socialist economy, the concept like literally is that some central planning committee is the one defining supply and demand. They're trying to
Correct,
estimate like how many hamburgers are we going to eat in Moscow in the year, and then like how much
correct.
uh, cattle do we need to raise in order to meet the demand for that segment of the market. And that's literally what they did in the Soviet Union. They had like a team of mathematicians who like wrote it out by hand and
Yeah,
tried to determine everything in the economy and plan everything. And that's why, like, from the American perspective, there's these like stereotypes and rumors, or some of
yeah.
it's true, some it's not,
Right,
that there was like shortages and challenges because like it's very hard to do to like match supply and demand, and that the system of like manually trying to like determine it all wasn't very
right.
good at meeting
It
supply and demand on both
always
ends.
it
Demand was
always
too
falls.
high, supply was too low, the system couldn't respond correctly. I think this part is like really important to describe, because in US and like most of Western countries, we don't have that. We don't have some central committee trying to match supply and demand and determine it all. We'd have a free market where like entrepreneurs create things, companies build things. Like Coke determines like what the supply needs to be for Coke on their own estimates, right? And maybe there's a shortage of Coke and maybe there's not, but they're very good at like not having a shortage of Coke. I've never had that in my entire, it's like it's kind of laughable, right? Like it's interesting that it's funny to think that, right? Like you go into an American grocery store and there's like unlimited supply of like junk food and all kinds of things, right? Which has its own problems, but we definitely do not have this problem of like matching supply and demand. Like we're very good at it.
Correct.
So that's why like it's important, because when you think about like, is it a more socialist policy or more capitalist policy? Like we still have a free market in the US. And so in my opinion, when people say it's more socialist, they're talking about the government intervening more um,
Yeah,
into the market. And while obviously like I'm pretty libertarian in terms of like I think like having free markets is a good thing. I think they work really well. but I'm not like a laissez-faire capitalist lunatic. Like I think that there needs to be constraints and there needs to be system in place. An example I always use of this is like um, the FDA. I think it's a very good example of like in a free market, you still need an entity like the FDA, which gets a lot of
Yeah.
heat these days, rightly so. Like people are very critical of them, but
Yeah.
without it, it's a disaster. So
It's a
like
complete
the
disaster.
the
Correct.
19th century, like anybody could show up in your town and just like take a bottle of like alcohol and market it as a cure all, or maybe it's poison and market it as like a miracle drug is just not a healthy world to live in.
Yeah.
Nobody wants that, right? You can't have like medical frauds and fakes just be completely legal to market however you decide. And that buyer beware that like I bought this medicine that I thought worked and I take it and it kills me. Like you can't have that work. Like so I think like the FDA is a very good example of like in a free market, you still need government entities to have some level of enforcement, to put rules in place about like what
Yeah.
are the basic requirements in certain areas, particularly in like things that are dangerous or might kill you, right? Like
Yeah.
drugs. So in my opinion, that's a regulatory aspect. It's not socialism. Socialism is literally like central planning is like how much
So
medicine do we need next year? So
Cor- So I'll push back on that a little bit in the
okay.
term. We'll bring it back to AI a little bit, right?
Yes.
AI is one of the only industries where we're getting federally regulations before anything else, before even state, before even uh you know even the companies are putting out things themselves. So that kind of like sets a tone a little bit where the federal government at the country level sees that AI is such a big potential risk, let's say, that they are preemptively regulating uh, AI as a entire ecosystem. So I
Awesome
think that
question.
both like scares me a little bit, and also it kind of creates a weird spot where states like California is now pushing back against federal regulation.
It's a really good question, right? So like, so where does AI fall into this spectrum of like regulatory requirements, right? Because FDA is such a clear example of where like who wants to
Yeah,
live in
it's
a
for the
world where
public good. Nobody will
buy a
argue.
you buy a bottle of poison and it kills you. Like no one can no one can argue that that's a good. Although there are like I think people who are too extreme and they do argue that too thing. I think it's quite laughable and it's not a mainstream view. So the AI one is super interesting. I think that like um at this junction, it doesn't require a lot of regulatory scrutiny. I don't like so far AI hasn't proven to be a catastrophic technology that we need to control. In fact, it's
Mm,
almost quite the opposite. I think that AI has proven to be like something that we need at like maybe even a national security level in order to compete effectively against other nation states. So I do think that like the government has a role and it's in like enabling us to be the leader and have excellent AI technology because the military application is very clear. Like you need it in order to operate autonomous planes, drones, planes, whatever it is, right?
correct.
Um, and that we need to have the best. So that's where I see it. But I don't see a need, at least so far, where like, oh my God, I have this thing running on my phone and it's like killing people. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's these science fiction scenarios that seem to perhaps make that a reality, but I don't think it's a reality at all.
Correct. So I kind of like to cap that off. I'm a little bit worried that like US will shoot themselves in the foot with AI, right? Like um comparing that to like the nuclear technologies in the 50s. We kind of regulated it before it became a huge thing. uh, Completely based on, let's say, the public fear of nuclear uh, technology.
Yeah, my understanding is that like this in the beginning people were very excited about nuclear, and it wasn't until a lot later that we understood there was like a lot of side effects to the radiation, and that's where a lot of the regulatory um what's called desire came from. That in the beginning, like the 50s, people thought like they wanted to put it on planes and like have
Yeah,
all kinds of like nuclear stuff. And
right.
then then it was like it took a while for people to realize that like, oh, there's this like weird side effect, like if you get exposed to radiation,
Yeah.
it's really bad for you. And that's where like the public fear uh came from regarding nuclear technology. So I don't know, from what I can see with like AI right now, there's nothing like that. Like there's definitely
Mm,
some side effects. And like I think we need to like know how to like live in a society with it. So some of these like AI powered psychosis stuff, have you seen this?
I have. Are you talking about the GPT-5 rollout or?
Well, there's like all kinds of people who start to like get like lost in AI. And I can see that actually is like a real concern, like mental health, mental wellness, that like you it's so powerful, like in its ability to construct a universe around you that's fictional, that
Right,
like there's definitely certain people who can like fall into that and have some kind of AI induced psychosis.
right, right. I think that's dangerous. I think that's
I agree. I don't know how we regulate it, but I don't know how we do that, but they just have to figure a way to. Well, so I mean, ChatGPT did try to put new features in. I don't know if that'll fix it, but I do think it's
they rolled
admirable.
back.
That,
So they rolled back the it's GPT-5 or nothing.
oh, you can get GPT-4.
You can get everything now again.
I didn't. They were restricting access before.
Yeah. So before in the drop down, you couldn't access any other legacy models besides
Mm,
GPT-5, and now they
that's cool.
rolled that back, and now you can go back to your previous romantic partners.
Well, they weren't backwards compatible either, right? Like, so if you, I had a lot of people saying that they had to like redo everything in
Correct.
GPT-5.
Yeah. So people are very angry about that.
All right. Was there anything else that we needed to share?
That was a good
That
seg.
was a deep one.
Um yeah, I guess like to cap that out, like do you think overall any predictions around recession?
Oh, good predictions. That was good.
Do you think looking at the trend line that we showed, do you think a recession is looming?
Right. So the consumer spending stuff. Yeah. Before we got caught up in describing and defining socialism versus capitalism. Yeah. So, like I would. So I think the parallel is to the business cycle in general that I've
Yeah,
seen over the long term with technology. So, like in the dot com boom, you had a similar phenomenon where a massive build out of um, technology companies, investment, jobs, just like everything was way tilted towards high tech. And too many people entered the field. Too much stuff was built. Too many things that like weren't perhaps useful got built too, right? And so you had some winners emerge, but there were like a lot of losers. And it took a while for
right,
the economy to like absorb all that. I mean, Amazon and eBay, there are a lot of companies that came out of the dot com boom that are still, some of the biggest companies in the world. So
right,
like, even though at the time there was some skepticism towards like the internet, and then there's frustration, the fact that there was like what they would say was over investment, it did
right,
yield some of the most incredible companies ever. So
right,
like I would argue that like it worked. But the side effect was that you had kind of this like maybe almost 10-year period of stagnation, right? Like the stock market didn't go anywhere from like 2000, 2009. You had these people that were in high tech and entered that field and had to get reintegrated into other parts of the economy.
yeah,
And I think we're seeing a similar cycle now where you had like, let's say 2010 all the through the pandemic, right? Where just there was even more enthusiasm and excitement about tech
right,
in general. Crypto boom. Um, you had a number of different like trends on in addition to like the AI boom now, right? So just like all of this like investment in space. And I think similar thing happened that like too many people built too many companies and we just don't need all of that capacity. And then
yeah,
AI is a really interesting technology where, you and I both were debating this, right? Like, is it really taking jobs away? Is it making things more efficient? And so I would say from my own personal experience, yes, there are things that like I used to need other people to do that I can do myself. So like I can use Claude to like vibe
Yeah.
code Python and create scripts and do things that were not easy for me to do before. I could do them pretty easily now. And I needed to actually hire someone or work with a team that could do those things. So there's a lot of value and a lot of like efficiency I'm getting. And so I'm seeing that in my personal, like my personal life. And
Yeah.
so I think that like what this means for the economy is that some of it's real in terms of like reducing the need
The
for
need for
employees in tech. Yeah.
I so definitely out of this AI thing, I think tech workers especially. So a lot of scaring the developer community, right? Like we debate all the time, will AI replace us? Will we be out of a job? Um I have a bit of an insight on that, right? Like exactly like you said, I think business overspent on the salaries and contracts of developers during the pandemic. $100,000 contracts were a thing. Immediately after the pandemic, I think that halved to like $50,000, and now with AI, $5,000, $10,000 for MVP build. But that's not kind of like my core argument. My argument is I think a lot of developers forgot that you could just change your price, right? So a lot of developers, because of the pandemic, they think that um they have to be paid a certain number, and they're self-selecting out of the job industry,
Mm.
right? They refuse to take a step back and say, hey, I got paid mid six figures during the pandemic. Getting paid anywhere south of that or below that is a defeat, is a major defeat.
Yeah, they can
But
adjust. Yeah.
right, they can adjust either through like real situations like lifestyle creep. um I think that's really at the core of the issue, is a lot of people refuse to adjust their pricing. um they're sitting on the sideline, either burning through savings or doing small things on the side.
Yeah. I think that that's just supply and demand, right?
That
So
is
like
supply and demand. Yeah.
there's a point where they could command those salaries and it was realistic. Now it's not. And so I think it's
Correct.
also normal that the adjustments are hard. So economists talk about these things in the abstract, right? But the reality of like, you made a certain amount of money and you have a certain lifestyle and your certain level of experience, and that maybe doesn't command the same rate in the market is tough for people. Um, and so I think that like there's only a few scenarios that are like gonna happen, right? It's like
Yeah,
people stay in it because they like it. And that's me. I thought this was awesome and I
that's
want to do it
exactly
my
it.
whole life.
Yeah,
There's other people who decide to do something else, which is fine too.
which is totally fine too.
Um, and then there's people who just like they kind of resist, right? And I think that path is what I don't advocate for. I think people are like really unhappy who just can't evolve with
Yeah,
the market. Um, and they'll have to find a way.
I've heard the saying where, during these kind of times, tough times, that's when the next generation of billion-dollar companies start. Right,
Yeah, I
like
love that.
exactly like Amazon, eBay. They came out of the dot-com bubble. Now they're one of, some of the largest companies currently. So I think like companies that's starting today, startups that's starting today, will become in 10 years some of the largest names.
I think it's a great way to end the show today is that, if you look back at the cycle, 2008, 10 is when some of the greatest, most interesting companies from Silicon Valley got started, right? Like
Yeah, 100%.
Airbnb, Dropbox, that whole cohort of companies that Y Combinator was able to grab into because then typical like let's call it the standard venture capitalist world was struggling because of the
Just the
great
speed they were. Yeah,
recession, and so Y Combinator was able to step in and fund those companies, right, and had all these wonderful exits and funded
yeah,
some really creative, really interesting companies. So I think you're correct that like we're in that stage of the cycle where they're shedding all these jobs at big companies, and there's going to be people who are going to really invent some cool stuff. And there's a huge opportunity to do that with AI.
100%.
All right, that was fun, dude.
Awesome.
We're good.
We're good.